What up, everybody? This is Double G for FGB Radio, alongside a repeat co-host, Cadillac Don. We're going to talk about WrestleMania 29. We're going to do a full preview of the show. But first off, coming off of a Sharks victory that you were in attendance for today. How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing tonight?
Not bad. All four Bay Area teams win today, so great day in Bay Area sports. Sharks, Giants, A's, and Warriors.
Oh, good. The A's finally get their first win of the season, then.
They did. All right, so we talked late last week, posted to the website on Monday morning, and we went over the road to WrestleMania, the things that we liked, the things that we didn't like, and I think both of us are of the opinion that this show could have been built up a lot better than it is, but that's said and done. This show is more going to be about, what we think is going to happen, but, we'll talk about the build and some of this stuff too, because on Monday's show, they did quite a number on the Punk and Undertaker segment. I was not disappointed. I was more so just surprised, I guess, that they went as far as they did. And I think most people who were listening to this saw that, which was Punk dumping what they are trying to tease as Paul Bearer's ashes onto the Undertaker to end the show. Not necessary, kind of tasteless, but whatever. That's just what they do sometimes, and it's hard to predict when they're going to do it. They did it with Jerry Lawler. Punk has been in the middle of both of these angles, and I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that, and maybe he doesn't have the power to say no to some of this stuff, but he seems to be way too smart to be involved in these kind of angles.
And we did predict it was going to happen last week, though, saying that we wouldn't be surprised if Paul Bearer's ashes turned up being inside the urn.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've been teasing it, and I just didn't expect it to go that far.
And you may have heard that, I think it was William Moody, which is that his brother? Whomever Paul Bearer's brother's name is, he approved that section as well. And as soon as he saw what it looked like, he was surprised by how tasteless it actually turned out to be.
I think it was his son.
Okay.
So and like there's a few he had to take back some words, because basically what you said is exactly right. He tweeted out, or maybe he had posted it somewhere, but it was the idea that he approved something, and what he saw on television wasn't exactly what he thought it was going to be. And then he came back, and a lot of people took that as a swipe at WWE Creative. And then he came back and said, well, what I actually meant was just on screen, it just, it seemed a lot different, or something like that. So he tried to take back what people thought was a swipe at WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was... I assumed what was originally reported, which made it sound like he was a little bothered, but he was kind of holding his words. Like he said it in a smart way, but I think we all took it as he was upset. But hopefully, whatever they do with Paul Bearer next year, or with the Hall of Fame, or whatever, whenever this thing ends, hopefully he doesn't get penalized for making that comment. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But so let's go over this show. We talked before we actually started recording that there are 12 planned matches, one of which we know for sure is going to be a pre-show match, which is The Miz and Wade Barrett. And have you heard if the mixed tag between Brodus Clay, Sweet Tea, the Funkadactyls, and the Team Rhodes Scholars, do you know if that's going to be on the live show, or do we think that's also going to be on the pre-show?
Well, since currently they don't have a women's match on there, that's the only match that has women actually in it. We have no title match with Caitlyn defending against possibly was it AJ?
Yes.
That was what we thought was going to happen. So I see this being the little throwaway maybe 10-minute segment all together. They get their dancing in, they get the cheap pop in, and it could be the bathroom match for a lot of people as well, right before, it may be in between a couple of the main event matches.
Okay, so they're going to do a 1 hour pregame. So if that is the case, then you have a Miz Wade Barrett match that maybe gets a little bit longer time. But you said you saw the times earlier. What do you remember? What Miz and Barrett was slotted at?
It's the times were, well, if the times were actually true, what I saw, it's what you would expect. So a lot over history, throughout history, the Intercontinental title match has never really gotten a lot of time. It's only been defended probably about 19 times overall. And usually when there's more time, it's when Kurt Angle was wrestling for it. But this one here, I wouldn't be surprised if... actually, I would be surprised if it went more than 12 minutes.
So they're going to do a lot of... I guess they're going to do a lot of pre-show hype, which is kind of what they do. I don't know how effective it will be on YouTube, but... hopefully they get some late buys, and maybe, I don't know, I would expect a lot of the same packages that we've seen on TV for the last few weeks. But let's talk about it. Miz, Wade Barrett, I have not been excited about this feud. I thought when Jericho was slightly involved, it raised both of their games. Without Jericho, it's two guys who are right smack dab in the mid-card. I think... most people think Barrett should be higher than he is. I really like him a lot. He's one of my favorite guys. And when it comes to just character, when it comes to how he, whenever they portray him as a tough guy, I think he really, really embraces it and he looks the character. And I think he does fairly well in the ring. But they like to slot him for whatever reason. And he goes up against the guy who is probably the career slot guy for as long as he's in WWE, The Miz. I was watching WrestleMania 28 recently, just kind of catching up. I never really watched that show again after it was on pay-per-view. And watching Miz be, the number one guy on Team Johnny going against Team Teddy, and then seeing where he is, a year later, he's basically the same dude, except he turned babyface, and he has Ric Flair's... seal of approval. So, who do you think's going over, and what do you expect out of this one?
So 2 years after he was in the main event of WrestleMania, and now he's on the pre-show. And is this going to be on the YouTube pre-show as well, or is it okay?
So I think it's like YouTube. It's the WWE app. I think you'll be able to watch it on their website, like a few different ways.
Yeah, and the Miz character has just not been very likable, even though they've been trying to push him as such. He looks a lot better than he did last year with that new haircut and then when he returned after a while. But it's just the same character. With Barrett, he's been imposing since he's come back, but really, unless they actually give him a shot at something else, he can't really prove himself. And he won't have a chance to prove himself in a pre-show, so it will look just like a regular Raw match to me. Even though she'll get some good time. And with Barrett, last time he was in a match against Miz, that was a three-way match against him, Miz, and Jericho. And it turned out that Miz and Jericho got a lot of the offense in that time. So hopefully they'll be giving some of that back to Barrett this time. But I just don't see Miz getting a win on this one. However, what do you think is when it comes to the pre-shows, a lot of people aren't going to watch it, but they want to get the crowd revved up for the whole show itself. So are they going to give a win to the babyface just to get the crowd into it, or is that Bear going to continue on?
Yeah, I think what you said the first time is that they're going to give a win to the babyface to kind of get this crowd going, but also I think he's going to win with the figure four, and he'll have a nice little moment for Flair there. I don't know what he'll do. Maybe he'll woo, or maybe he'll, do something just to signify, that WWE, as a company is thinking of Flair and all the stuff that he's been going through. I don't think that's the reason why he'll win. I think, what you said before is why he'll win, but I think that will be a nice touch to him winning.
Yeah, especially if he can hit the figure four correctly.
I mean, that should be tribute enough, right? That he puts the move on correctly.
And any chance you think that Flair might actually show up, or is this he's completely out?
Oh God, I hope not. The funeral for his son was earlier.
Yeah.
We're recording on a Wednesday night. It was earlier today. He's just. I hope he does not show up. I understand people may say, oh, he needs to be around people and whatever, but. No, he should just be with his family and do whatever. But I think wrestling should kind of be out of sight, out of mind for a little while, or at least I hope. But you never know. He is wrestling, so.
Yeah, if anything, I can see him maybe bringing his family there just to be backstage and being with his friends in the wrestling business, but not showing up on screen.
Right. All right, so did you think? So you think Barrett's going to win?
It's a toss-up, but I have who I think will win and who should win, and I think that Miz will win, but Barrett should win. But if Barrett loses, this might give him a chance to get out of that role of the Intercontinental title and maybe challenge whoever comes out on top of the SmackDown title between Del Rio and Swagger.
Or a possible third person, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right.
I almost said something there. Go
ahead. So the next match, I don't know what the order is or whatever, but I would say this is probably the least important match on the show. Tons of funk. Naomi and Cameron versus Team Road Scholars with the Bella Twins.
If I can ask a quick question here.
Yes.
So we have the pre-show being Wade Barrett and Miz.
Yes.
What match would you, if you were, say, fantasy booking this, or armchair booking, they call it, if you wanted to start WrestleMania off, what match would you start it off with to get the crowd into it?
I personally would start it with Jericho Fandango, mostly because of Jericho's entrance. The jacket and the music, it feels very WrestleMania to me. So that's what I would do. But if they decide that Fandango's going to win that match, maybe it's not the best idea to open with. I know Big D thinks that they're going to open with the World Heavyweight Championship for the third year in a row.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised at that either, but I actually wasn't thinking that. I was thinking of Jericho Fandango as well, because if they have Fandango come out, he imagined the crowd would want to boo somebody, and he would get probably the most heel he'd ever gotten before.
Yeah, and may ever get again.
Yeah.
And you know what? The other thing is that I don't have a problem with it anymore, and I think we talked about this in that. When I first heard that this was going to be the match, Jericho and Fandango, I was really bummed because I was like, Jericho is coming back and he's wrestling, and I think of the great matches that he's had even last year with Punk, and then to come back and face a guy who has never even wrestled one match, it seemed a little bit like a slap in the face. But now that they've done the angle, to me, this might be the best book thing they have on the show. And, it is like an opening card or undercard feud, and that's saying something. But I dig it. I have a feeling that Jericho's going to work his ass off for the small amount of time that he gets. Hopefully he'll make Fandango look as good as possible, and maybe Fandango could do something with this. But, I really think that it has a chance to be a little memorable for, a sort of a mid-card kind of thing.
But the question is, though, can Fandango lose this match? Because
I don't think so.
If he loses his first match at WrestleMania, that would completely ruin his character as well. I don't
know if it was ruined it. I don't know if it would ruin it, but it would definitely... it would definitely not be the logical way to do it, because Jericho could win. Jericho could win. He could even get a win back on Raw, and it would mean really nothing for his character. It would mean nothing for his place. But for Fandango to win, it would mean everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's pretty logical that he'll win. Even though earlier in the week I predicted Jericho to win, but that was mostly because I was just trying to think of who would, like I said, who would set the crowd off right in the opener. And the more and more that I think about it, I do think Fandango's going to win just because it's such more logical. But actually, so let's get to that match after this one. So
Go ahead.
Tons of Funk, Rhodes Scholars, they have the women in there. I enjoyed Cameron and Naomi and the Bellas this week. There is very rare. It's very rare that a women's match where the women are actually wrestling kind of catches my eye and I stop doing what I'm doing to pay attention. And they did. For being so terrible on Tough Enough, Cameron was pretty good.
Yeah, she always scares me every time I see her get in there. But Naomi, wow, she's one that as soon as I saw her on NXT.
Yes.
She's one I would have picked to win the whole thing. But yeah, she's always looks great in there.
So the finish of this match doesn't matter at all. Who cares who wins? But still, I think predicting this match is just kind of flipping a coin because this may be one of the matches where WWE goes, oh, like everyone thinks that the babyfaces are going to win, so we'll just make the heels win. Who do you think wins this one?
Either way, it's going to end with a dance.
Agreed.
So if Rhodes and Sandow win, they're Clay and Tenzai are going to get their heat back afterwards. Throw them out and hold the hand, bring people into the ring. And if they win, same thing. I see the Tons of Funk winning this one, but Rhodes and Sandow coming close, but then just getting overpowered in the end.
Me too. And I hope the finish is Naomi hitting some crazy athletic finisher on a Bella.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go back to Jericho and Fandango. So do you think Jericho actually loses this match? And if he does that mean we won't see him for a little while?
That's a good one, because I hadn't heard anything about him taking a break after this. But I do see Fandango winning, but after what you said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho wins just to get the crowd, just get the crowd into it more. And I can see Fandango maybe attacking him afterwards, or just have the blow-off match on Raw next week as well. But if Fandango does lose, this could be it's going to be like a bad thing to compare the two. But if you think of Flair and Sting and how Flair made Sting in that match, this could be a match where even though Fandango loses, Jericho could make him just by having a great 12 to 15 minute match.
Yeah, and if they get enough time as well. Jericho, when he was on Conan's MLW podcast, he said that he was only signed from Royal Rumble through WrestleMania. Now, Jericho likes to fib a lot when it comes to this stuff. So he could clearly, actually be around for longer. From what I understand, he may be gone immediately after Mania, but there's like a time between spring and summer where he's not touring, so he could come back. So who knows? But to me, whenever he's there, I don't cherish the moment because I know he's going to be around for a little while. But when he's there, I pay attention and I root, and he's one of my favorite guys of all time. So I think he does what he's supposed to do and makes Fandango look like $1 million and starts to show off with a good little match. If this is the opener, it could be they could, like we said, throw this next match in, which we'll talk about, which is the World Heavyweight Championship. Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger. I thought what they did on Raw was probably the best thing that they've done so far, just in its overall brutality, with Swagger hitting him with the crutch. And I saw a photo. I forgot who tweeted it out, but there was a photo of Alberto Del Rio's back after that match was over. And it looked like he got whipped with chains. Like, that's how beat up he was. And it looked, it came across as very brutal. This one's hard for me to predict as well, because there's this outlier there. There's this wild card in the Dolph Ziggler Money in the Bank. Now, I think the smartest thing is getting the belt off of Del Rio, because I think he's floundering with it, and I think they need to build his character up more before they give it back to him, because they've been doing a terrible job. Though I don't know if Swagger's the right guy to hold the belt. But if Del Rio beats Swagger, where does Swagger go, considering his character is all about hating Mexicans, and there are no other Mexicans in the company?
Except for two unnamed ones so far that I'm not even sure if speaking of Mysterio and Sin Cara. And, I can see if Swagger does win, that would be, their next one he can go after. But question about when Swagger was hitting him with the crutch on Raw. For those who didn't see Raw, what did you think of the crowd's reaction during that?
I don't even remember. I mean, were they hot for it? I honestly did 3 hours of Raw, and there's subtle things that I missed like that, because I'm just so bored for the most part.
Exactly, and I think that's what the crowd was like as well. They're trying to give the heat to Del Rio, so people will get behind him. But that's the problem he's been having all this time, is getting the crowd behind him. And I'm not sure if it's due to his blandness as a good guy, or people just can't get over him when he was the aristocratic Mexican who looked down on everybody before. Right. And they try to use Ricardo as well to try to get the heat on him. Because, everybody likes Ricardo, even when Del Rio was the heel. Remember at Royal Rumble, was it last year when he was in there? Mm-hmm. And the crowd was just, going crazy for him. But I can see this. You mentioned Ziggler. I can see Del Rio winning, but he comes out in a bad way, where either his leg's killing him, or he goes through a lot of pain. And then Ziggler, cashes in, and, Del Rio doesn't stand a chance. Now,
I don't think they've ever done this before with the Money in the Bank gimmick, but because they're trying so hard to get Del Rio over, could you see him beating Jack Swagger and Zeb, laying him out after the match, and he's out. Ziggler comes in, cashes it, hits a finisher, Del Rio kicks out, armbar, Money in the Bank, it's done.
Now, if that were to happen, I would, I'd probably excrete myself. But I'm not sure if you allow swearing on this or not. But that would be one of those great WrestleMania moments too. Yeah, and Del Rio would have that, behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it, but it just seems that they're just trying so hard with this guy. Mm-hmm. I honestly think, I think the Swagger Del Rio program needs to continue, which is the only reason I wouldn't put it on Dolph. But maybe they can continue even without the title, and then Del Rio's got to climb the ladder a little bit to get to Dolph, and that could possibly happen. I'm still gonna pick Swagger to win the title, just to prolong the feud, and I think I've been waiting for Dolph to cash in, and I sort of feel like they're dangling the carrot, and I've kept going after it, and then they pull it away. So I'm not gonna guess that here, but I'll go Swagger wins the title. So that they can continue the feud.
Yep, and I would pick Del Rio, just because I like the fact that he's behind the eight ball. I guess that's a term you can use, but he's going to find a way to pull it a win, and gets attacked afterwards. And I can see Ziggler coming up, but if he doesn't, this means that the heat would still be on Swagger, and we of course would have a match or the rematch at the next pay-per-view.
All right, so let's go with the tag team title match. Team Hell No versus Ziggy and Biggie.
I love that.
I thought they did a pretty good job on Monday with this one too, with the Big E looking strong, breaking out of the choke slam. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Hitting both of them with his finisher.
Right.
Or if you call it his finisher.
Yeah, what a terrible move that is. Now, this match, I think the finish is interesting because Ziggler and Big E could win the titles here, and let's say, AJ is going to win the title sometime soon, and they have sort of like a championship pedigree in their little stable, and I mean Ziggler could win the title as well, so they could position themselves as kind of like a pretty dominant stable. I don't know that because of how mid-cardish Ziggler has been pushed, I don't know that I see that happening. And when I predicted this for the preview that's on the website right now, Big D also wrote a preview, and I know you're writing one as well. But he asked for my prediction, and this was before last week. Mm-hmm. I predicted Team Hell No, and I think I made the wrong prediction because I think everything leans towards Ziggy and Big E winning this match.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there as well because I was leaning towards Team Hell No as well, but then. We get the heat that Ziggler and Big E got on Raw, where, we talked last week about how usually, in wrestling mentality or whatever, wrestling mentality, that's the word I'm trying to find, that whoever gets the heat on the go-home show usually ends up losing as the other, team or person gets their heat back.
Sure.
But this one here, I can see also they've been teasing the eventual breakup between Bryan and Kane as well. And really we thought that this was going to be Bryan versus Kane, at WrestleMania. So surprised they're still a team together. But I can see some dissension between the two. Something happens, where one of them hits the other accidentally and they end up losing the match that way. But I would also love to see with Kane and Bryan that they, because of the anger management thing they went through, that they don't break up that way, and that they stay friends, but they break up, have like an amicable breakup. But that's what I'd love to see. But I still agree that I'd love to see the. Am I saying that too much? The Ziggler, Big E, AJ, them all getting the titles as well.
The Ryback Mark Henry feud. This has been a feud where I think it's cool to see two humongous dudes who are strong and big and are just trying to one-up each other. I think that's fine. But I've been dreading the part where they actually have to get in the ring and wrestle because I think Ryback is terrible. Like, he's one of the worst. I really like Mark Henry, though, and I tweeted this the other day from the Fight Game blog Twitter, saying that, if this world were fair, Mark Henry would go over in this match, and I don't see it happening. I don't think many people see it happening because, Ryback has been pushed a little harder than your normal kind of upper mid-card guys who, they don't really seem to have a plan for ever, but I think... I would love to see Henry win this match, but I have a feeling Ryback's kicking out of the World's Strongest Slam, and he's going to try to get Henry up in his finisher. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I think Ryback will definitely get the victory. But I guess the only thing I'm really rooting for is that they keep it pretty short.
I'm actually afraid for both guys in this one. I'm afraid that Henry is going to, or Ryback is going to try to pick up Henry, and he might hurt himself because of the weight. And I'm afraid that Henry may take a move the wrong way and end up hurting himself as well. So I can see that being a scary match that way. I just want to see these guys throw bombs at each other over and over again, back and forth. That's it. Punches, clotheslines, kicks, no actual wrestling moves. I don't want to see Kane and Big Show when they had their little wrestling clinic. You remember that a couple years ago?
Yeah.
But I just want to see them hit each other as hard as they can. I want to see the ring fall apart, all that stuff. Like when, what was it, Brock Lesnar and Big Show did that one time.
The superplex off the top rope.
Yeah, I know it's not going to happen this time here, but I want this to be like an explosion between the two. It's one I'm actually looking most forward to. I love how they started this back in, was it November, December, when they just started with a little glance at each other and the build from that afterwards. But the thing is also is that Ryback's been on this pay-per-view losing streak as well. So if they want to keep his character strong, I'm not sure if anybody really pays attention to this, but or if the average fan, oh, geez, he lost like 4 or 5 pay-per-view matches in a row. That he might need this win here, to keep his status up.
Right. All right. So I've gone on and on and on in my my Raw rerun recaps that I write on the website about how I think they have something with the Shield, and I don't think they use them enough. I want to see more Shield on my television. I think they're awesome. And here they're facing Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus, and everything. If you are a longtime wrestling fan, every little trick in the book that they've been doing with this is leading us to think that Randy Orton is RKOing Sheamus, and that the Shield is going to win this match. Now, it could be very WWE-like to lead us in that direction and then swerve us at the end. I don't know. I sure hope not. The Shield must win this match. I think the Shield need to win this match more than John Cena needs to beat The Rock, more than Brock needs to beat Triple H, even though that's not happening, more than The Undertaker needs to beat. Like, this is the match that the finish needs to be, that the Shield wins, because they have momentum. Even though I think they've stalled it a little bit since the Elimination Chamber, in which they had a great match, I think they need to win so that they can be, continue to be the fresh new act that WWE sorely needs.
Mm-hmm. And they are undefeated so far, but as I mentioned last time, they don't really have much of an individual personality. They are always as a group together. It would be nice to see them in their own one-on-one matches as well, just to see what Seth Rollins can do by himself if you haven't seen him on NXT. And same with Roman Reigns. And Dean Ambrose needs to be more continue to be the spokesperson for the team. But as you mentioned, if this happens where Orton turns on Sheamus, I can see him. I think you mentioned this earlier. If he gives Sheamus the RKO, go ahead and give everybody in the Shield the RKO as well, and then end up getting the pin that way. But probably the biggest thing that would hurt the Shield right now is if somebody else were to join them as a fourth member, be it Orton, or even if Big Show or something like that were to join, because they would like to throw the little wrench into what everybody thinks might happen.
Right.
But so what do you think about the Shield as a group is great, but in individual wrestlers?
Well, my fear is that if they split them up and have them wrestle singles matches, that they will beat them. That's my fear.
Yeah. And so for this one here, it's I actually had written down, Sheamus, Orton, and Big Show winning this match. Because out of all the guys in there, the only ones that you can really cheer for is Sheamus, because Orton and Show has been showing the heel tendencies lately. And I can see, what I mentioned, how Orton hits Sheamus with the RKO, then goes ahead and hits Shield with it, and ends up getting the win that way.
That is an interesting prediction for sure.
Yeah, boring prediction as well, but with the history of Orton. But
do you remember that he lost at WrestleMania last year?
Yeah, was that against Kane?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're really surprised by that too.
I put the DVD in and I had it on the background while I was working, and Orton comes out for the second match, and I thought, oh, I can't even remember who he was wrestling at this show. And then Kane came out, and I went, oh yeah, he wrestled Kane. And then the match is going and going and going, and a thought hit me, wait, did Kane win this match?
And I think, remember, right after we watched that match, we said that, I bet he's gonna beat Kane in the next Raw, and sure enough, he did. So,
all right. So here's a match that I am most interested in the entire show: Triple H, Brock Lesnar. On Raw, Shawn Michaels came out and cut a really strong promo about how Triple H's idea of retirement match is the same as Shawn Michaels' idea of a retirement match. And Shawn Michaels said, no, it's not the same because I can walk away from wrestling. Your whole life is wrestling. And so that was a pretty cool way to get over the match. The hard part is Michaels kind of came in unannounced, but any Shawn Michaels appearance, any time he's part of a big show like this, I don't even care why he's there. Like he's just gonna be great. I rewatched the Hell in the Cell with Undertaker and Triple H, and Michaels is the best guy in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just was.
But he really did get it over, like how important wrestling was to Hunter, but not to Michaels himself. Where this, because we think about Hunter wrestling maybe once or twice a year these days, but here's a guy that we can see wrestling well into his 50s. Yep. As well, as long as they'll let him.
Yep.
He'll be like Ric Flair that way. He idolizes Ric Flair. So, and they really need to get over how important his career was to him, where it wasn't as important to the fans, because we really didn't see him that much. Most people suspected he might go ahead and just retire eventually anyways. But he would still, bust out these matches every once in a while, sort of like play the Vince McMahon role once Vince retires. Mm-hmm. But if they were to have him lose this match, then they might really push that. Now he's retired, no more wrestling, and they really have Michaels push how much it was at stake for him to make the fans realize and understand that.
Right.
And so I wasn't even thinking about that before. I was thinking that, he's already, 1 foot, out of the wrestling anyways. He'd rather be running it more than being in the ring.
So do you, like everyone else on this earth, believe that Brock is losing this match?
My first thought when thinking about that is I mentioned Hunter earlier, so like the Conan kind of character that you have for him, like whenever he realizes he can beat anybody, hit Booker T with his finisher, and then pin him like 15 seconds later, and Booker T would be dead to the world.
Big D calls him Huntor.
Yep, HUN-TOR.
Yes.
And I wrote down here, if Cena can get a win over Lesnar, why can't Hunter? And so if this was 10 years ago, with Michaels in Triple H's corner, I can see this ending with Michaels attempting a super kick on Brock, missing, hitting Hunter, and setting up a feud between the two. As Lesnar beats Hunter with Michaels' accident, or with Michaels helping him accidentally. But I don't see that happening this time. I see it just him being in the corner, maybe keeping Heyman away from the ring, or distracting the referee, whatever. But poor Lesnar for this one here. He's going to be 1-2 in the 3 matches.
Yeah. And so let's say that the idea is obviously to keep Lesnar around. He's going to be around. He is a mover for pay-per-view for sure. He looks like the biggest star and the baddest man on TV whenever he's around. Will losing this match hurt him going forward? Now, there's the rumor that Rock and Brock at WrestleMania 30, will him losing to Hunter here hurt that match as far as box office?
It depends on how he loses. With Shawn Michaels in Triple H's corner, this being the no holds barred match, which probably means no disqualification as well. It's basically, I can see it being a 2-on-1. Michaels hitting Lesnar with a super kick, and then Triple H hitting him with a pedigree for the win, and be like the Degeneration X all over again. But it all depends on how he loses. This should be a long, bloody match, and Triple H should be very close to losing a lot, or very closely. But it should be where Lesnar should win this one, or you feel like he should win this one. Maybe he has a win in the bag, but then Triple H does something like some kind of heelish thing out of nowhere and steals the win from him.
Right. Now, is that... This is a little hard because Lesnar is a badass heel, and I guess, having the baby faces double team him to win is kind of weird, but oh well. I expect this to also be the best match just from a drama perspective. Brock really understands how to work slowly, but to get all of the meaning out of what he's doing. Out of the match, the way that he smirks, the way that he moves, everything looks real or as real as possible. So even though I expect this to be a bit of a slow match like their match at SummerSlam was, I do think this will be a little bit better because they'll have a little bit more things to help it out, including Sean, and thus I think this will be probably the best match on the show. But
and how do you see it ending?
I see it being a fairly competitive match for most of it, where they're both, he's got to figure out how to get out of the way from the armbar, because if he just gets armbarred like 4 times and breaks out of it every time, that's just too stupid. Mm-hmm. So he's got to figure out a way to stay out of it. But I think it's going to be one of those things where they literally have to kill Brock to beat him, and so I think that's how it's going to work. But I agree that it's dumb to beat Brock, but I disagree that it's like the death knell for him, because I just think he's so good, he's so believable. As long as he doesn't look like a goofball, I think he'll be fine.
And you think the sledgehammer is going to be brought into this one?
Yeah, they brought it out for the match last year with Undertaker, and Undertaker ate at least one, I think. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure we'll see it again. I'm sure we will. So, last 2 matches. Undertaker and CM Punk. I've been most disappointed with this build than any match on the show. Just don't understand how Punk could be so smart and be involved in something as goofy as this. Don't understand how The Undertaker, who calls his own shots, can approve the goofiness of all this. And thus, it has really lowered my interest in the match. I think it still should be good. Both of the guys are good, though there's rumors that they will not have that long of a match, which I think it will be disappointing. It will ruin it a little bit. But I'm assuming that you believe Undertaker goes 21-0 here.
What I would have loved to see, and I'm assuming that Undertaker wins this one as well, but I would have liked to see them make it look like Punk could beat him, instead of Punk just saying that he could beat him. Instead of doing all this supernatural stuff over the last couple weeks or so, or playing around with the urn or the ashes and the druids, but having Punk actually, pick him up. I'm not sure if he could, give him the GTS, but or maybe just in one of the shows, just get him the Anaconda Vice. This could be a match that could end with. Actually, this would have been great if it was a submissions match, but. I can see this, coming down to that, or would have liked to have seen them actually push it to make it look like Punk could make him tap out with that. But
yeah, the believability in a match like this is really tough because they've done just about everything you can do the last 4 years, and they've been 4 great matches. It's going to be tough. I think Punk will have some ideas. I think he'll make it interesting, but I think I will say that this will not be as good as the last 4 matches with The Undertaker. I know I'm not going out on that big of a limb, but I think before the build happened the way that it did, I thought they could create some magic, and I thought it could be as good, but I don't think that anymore.
And we thought Undertaker was done after last year, too. He could barely stand. They had to help him to the end of the ramp, and they all raised their arms up together. And they could have played on that this time around as well. Could have Punk showing clips of this, saying last time you wrestled, this is what you looked like. And you can barely walk, and you're an old man now. You've had all this. I think he had a hip replacement surgery, and I could be lying about that. Who knows what he had recently? But it's just he could have been playing how you're not the man you used to be, and that's why I'm just going to take advantage of that and beat you.
Right.
And that's if they would have gone with that. And they would have shown that maybe Punk had a chance of beating him, then I would have gone with Punk. It would have been a lot more interesting. But now it's just a matter of time before Undertaker gets it. Gets the win.
Well, I mean, anything that you just said right now is 10 times better than what they've done. So yeah. All right. Main event time. Rock, Cena, 2, twice in a lifetime. I think there was an idea, and I think it was a good idea, but WWE was just too chicken to do it completely. Because and who knows if this was their idea from long ago? Who knows if they were going to do Rock Cena from the end of last WrestleMania? But let's say that they were. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. And they created this storyline. You know what we're going to do? We are going to make our guy, the guy who is at every house show, the guy who draws the TV ratings, we are going to create a storyline that will allow him to win the title and do it in a way that looks like he's an underdog and he's a fighter and he's really digging deep. And we're going to do it by making his 2012 a little harder. He's not going to win every match. He's not going to be able to win the title whenever he wants. He's going to get screwed here and there. And when it comes to January, we're going to create a huge obstacle for him. He's got to win the Royal Rumble to get a title match. And then he does it, and now he is, the big star who has gone from the deepest depths to get back on top. That is actually a really good storyline for John Cena. It would have worked amazingly. And yet they chickened out because he didn't lose a lot. He beat Brock Lesnar. He would lose matches and then come back out the next Monday and just be same old happy guy. He lost to Punk, but it was like a screw job. He lost to Dolph, but it was because of cheating. So this terrible 2012 year that John Cena supposedly had wasn't that bad, and thus the storyline, which was really good, I thought, if they would have done it, it absolutely makes no sense.
It would have been really good, but except for, we know it's John Cena, and the thing with Cena being the Hulk Hogan of this age is that it's always going to come out on top in the end. So,
but imagine if they would have booked him like that, though. Imagine if they would have had the courage to do it.
And make him lose his smile a bit.
Sure, make him go away.
Yeah. Have him come out and, not tell jokes, as you're saying, about every little thing. And actually try hard and still end up losing. Makes mental mistakes. He made that huge mental mistake last year that he mentioned on Raw last week, where he got cocky and he tried to hit Rock with his own finishing move, and that blew it for him. If he had kept that mentality through 2012 and made small mental mistakes like that, this could be something that could be weighing very heavily on his mind going into this match. And now we're looking at this match, and it's going to be looking exactly like it did last year. Last year I think Rock was more of the underdog because he was, down and out for a while. But now he's had a couple matches, actually not too bad. And, it's just going to be very similar, except for, I'm not even going to say that Rock has a hometown advantage because it was in Miami last year. Either way, it's going to get the same reaction.
I actually think both guys. There's a good chance that both guys might get booed in this match.
Oh yeah, being in Jersey, yeah. That'd be interesting though if they broke with the boring chant halfway through, or the "you effed up" if something were to happen.
Okay, so before we even give our predictions, I think I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to predict, because I think a lot of this card
might surprise you. But go ahead.
Okay, so you may surprise me, but last year's match. Now, I thought the finishing sequence was fine. There were good parts of it, but at most 3.25, 3.5 stars. Nothing special, nothing we haven't seen before, nothing even as memorable as Rock Hogan and as Rock Warrior, though technically it was a better match than both of those matches, but not as memorable, not as magical, not something you'll remember for the rest of your life.
I was going to say, I wish there was a Rock Warrior match. You meant Hogan Warrior?
Yeah, Hogan Warrior.
But Rock Warrior, wouldn't that be great? Book it for next year. We need that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, do you think that they will be able to create that kind of moment this year, which they seem to want to create last year? They even had Chris Jericho go out and say that it was going to be one of the greatest matches of all time, and it was a little disappointing based on the expectations. Could they improve on that, and could they do something memorable this year?
I hope that Rock's cardio will be better this year as well, because he's really huffed and wind last time. But with the couple matches that he had this year as well, he might not get too blown up through the match. But I can see this. They probably want to maybe have this be like the Rock Austin matches of the 90s. Oh, sorry, not 90s, but that's late 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. Where it would be a very long back and forth, hit each other's finishers, and kick out of every little thing. It'd be nice if it was like that, but I can also see this being the kind of match where maybe Rock makes the mental mistake this time. And that ends up blowing it for him. But
so, I mean, that'll be interesting. The only thing that I don't know if I want to see is anything that sets up a third match.
Well,
I want it to be conclusive.
I don't think so. I think that whoever wins this match or whoever loses this match is getting a title shot or a rematch next pay-per-view as a blow-off match.
Well, that's probably going to happen, especially if Rock does work Extreme Rules like it is rumored to happen. All right, so I think that in order for this very bad storyline to be finished, I think Cena has to win. I think he needs to win the title. I wonder... The thing about Rock losing is that he is the one who is the reason why business has been so hot. Like, they've been actually selling out house shows and such. And so, will it hurt Rock if he loses here when it comes to coming back? Like, so before WrestleMania 27, he came back. And there was a little bit of buzz. Before last year's WrestleMania, he came back. There was a lot of buzz. And before this year's WrestleMania, he came back. A lot of buzz again. If he loses here, at technically one of the biggest WrestleManias ever, does it hurt him for the next time he comes back?
But he is planning on coming back. You've heard that he'll be back for the Extreme Rules? Or is that rumored?
That's the rumor, but it seems to be a lock that he's going to be at WrestleMania next year.
Okay. And you were thinking about Brock versus Brock next year as well?
That's what's been rumored.
Okay. If he wasn't planning on coming back after, I can almost see this being like the ending of Hogan Warrior, where when Warrior won, Hogan left with his head held high and was it Hulkamania would live forever type thing. I can't remember how they Immortal. There you go. Yeah. And I could see this being where if Rock were to lose like that, where he would still have all of the, what was the word I'm looking for? he would lose on a good note, I guess you could say. He would have all the respect. Maybe he would win respect from Cena, and it would be a long, drawn-out match. And if he ended up losing, it would be because Cena just happened to be the better man, and it wasn't because somebody made a mistake in the match. But, going back, what was the original question again? Sorry?
No, just that, do you think it would hurt him for future business if he is the biggest mover of business, when he does show up?
I can see if Cena wins this one here that Rock holding that title and taking that title with him, really helps the WWE's image as well, because people see that, they got the Brahma Bull on the title and all that as well. But if we're talking about the business itself, nothing is really going to hurt The Rock. If he loses this one here, he can come back the next month and he would still have the same kind of pop he had before. So I don't see this really hurting him much if he were to lose.
All right, so what do you think happens here?
So I've been seeing some people, there's been a lot of back and forth, about Rock or Cena winning. And I actually see Cena winning this one here. And I threw out this hypothetical. What if Ziggler didn't want to go after the second-rate World Heavyweight Championship, but he wanted the big one, the WWE Championship? And Rock and Cena had this long, drawn-out match. Both of them are almost dead at the end of it. Cena comes out with the win, and then out comes Ziggler to cash in. And he goes to cash in, he goes to hit Cena with his finisher or something, and then turns around and Rock hits him with the rock bottom, and then he throws Cena on top of him, just because Rock would want to be the one to beat Cena. He wouldn't want to beat Ziggler to win the championship again. Hypothetical, and it would probably not be the greatest thing, but
it's creative. I like the creativity. People will say, "Oh, well, Ziggler won the briefcase for the other belt," but I don't think that stuff matters.
Yeah. Did you even? I didn't even remember that. So I wonder how many other people actually remembered which one he won it for. So. Yeah.
Okay, so I like the creativity in that. I think Cena's gonna win. I think he's going to win. They're making such a big deal about the people's elbow that he messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean Rock is going to try to hit the AA and lose, or does that mean that Cena finally hits the people's elbow?
Yeah, or there you go. Yeah, I was going to say, or Rock goes for the top rope leg drop and misses, but I doubt that will happen.
And he kills himself. Yeah, so I think that's the way that this match ends is more interesting to me than anything anything else about the match. I think it'll be just like last year's. It'll be a solid match, a good main event, not a great main event. For whatever reason, and this is more, I guess, kudos to someone like Austin or Angle or Jericho, is Cena's just not at that level to where he can raise the game like that. For whatever reason, he and Punk have fantastic matches, but that may say more about Punk than it says about Cena, and maybe Punk, is maybe undercredited for how good he is. So. But overall, I'm looking forward to it. I will say that I was looking forward to it a lot more in December, January than I am now. I don't know if you feel the same way, but the build has definitely cooled my interest. Even though I'm going to watch it, I've watched every WrestleMania there's ever been, and nothing was going to stop me from watching it. Though, my interest was a little hotter for it a couple months ago.
Yeah, I can see there being a lot of good matches, and it is going to be a lot of good matches. But what I was really looking forward to was the undercard this time around. I wasn't looking forward to the rematch after rematch. Lesnar, Triple H again, Rock, Cena again, and Undertaker and CM Punk again as well. But I really like the Ryback and Henry match. I like anything to do with the Shield. Chris Jericho, Fandango, of course, or Fandango, however you want to pronounce it. And especially the one match I was really looking forward to was the tag team championship match. Mainly because I'm a sucker for tag teams, but I wouldn't be surprised if that one lit off the show, just to give Ziggler a chance to rest in between whether or not he goes out and cashes in the briefcase. But yeah.
All right, so we will we will be back. I will probably be back with Jason after WrestleMania on Sunday, and do another show, just sort of as a recap of what we see on Sunday night. I know you are writing something for the website. Also, I wanted to just make note that we've been doing this series called WrestleMania Memories, and we've already posted some. And this is basically the writers on this website who, they've all been longtime fans, and I just posed a few questions, and it stirred up some memories and some things that people may have forgotten about. For instance, I didn't know that King Kong Bundy is the reason why you liked wrestling so much as a youngster, but yeah. So we posted on with Big D, Alan. Duan is actually how you pronounce the name that I've been saying as Dwan. It is actually Duan. And we just posted yours, or we will post yours tomorrow morning. So if you want to reminisce with Cadillac Don, his WrestleMania moments will be posted on Thursday, which is probably when most people will listen to this. And then I'll post my own on Friday. We will have play-by-play of WrestleMania on Sunday. We'll still have your preview. We'll do the podcast after Sunday. So we basically have WrestleMania covered every day of the week. And good week to be a wrestling fan, even if I'm slightly disappointed with the build.
And one thing I'd like to say is, for those who are listening to this, if you look back at all the other what people wrote in for their favorite WrestleMania moments, I'd love to see the comments where you go in and actually answer the questions yourself. What was your favorite match? What was the match that you would have liked to have seen something different happen? Favorite WrestleMania overall? It'd be great to read what other people's thoughts are on that.
Yeah, and I wrote the questions with my own sort of thoughts in mind, as what I would find interesting. So yeah, I'm excited. I haven't even written out mine yet, so I kind of just decided that I'm going to write it Friday. I'll take 20 minutes or whatever, answer the questions, and just post it. So I don't even know what I'm going to write.
I end up having to watch a couple of videos actually on mine just to reminisce a bit. And once you see it on Thursday, you'll know what I'm talking about. But WrestleMania 4 all the way.
I watched that show a lot as well, but that's a long show. That's all I will say. All right, so thank you, Cadillac Don, for hanging out and doing the preview to WrestleMania 29. I know it's very late for both of us, but I appreciate you hanging out so we could get this done. And thanks everybody for listening. So for Cadillac Don, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.
And go Sharks.